This is for entertainment purposes only. Boy, did I catch heat over not being created in an image of fear. But it's true. You're not in the form of the Creator, which means you can create, you can make stuff and make things happen. And not being created in an image of fear, sometimes you're going to shine on the other side of that fear, maybe. So you got to just go straight through it, take it head on, and see where it takes you. Might lead you to greatness. Might lead you somewhere uncomfortable. It may. It's just not the same. I don't care. I don't care. Smoking a pipe is cool because you do get that little bit of nicotine, but I'm a cigarette guy, and I'm gonna quit one of these days. Soon. Sooner than later. I'll put that on it. I've been saying it now for a year straight. It's in the front of my mind that I want to stop. I just have to stop. Because if you don't want to stop, you're just going to keep going. It is what it be. Oh my goodness. Where were we? Portals? No, back to the image of fear. So I thought about that last night a little bit, and it reminded me of a while back. I was with another friend who, quote unquote, called himself a Christian. And we were in a really exclusive club, a real private place that if you don't know someone that's, there, or you're not sneaking in, because you'll just have your ass handed to you on your way out the door. But someone who had recently got out of prison for one of the worst things that you could do had come into this scene. This is a few years ago, mind you. And I don't want to give away the time to give anybody away. But this fellow was very hardened, is about the only word I could use, after being in for, oh my God, 18 years or something like that. And a discussion was started about spirituality and then religion. And there were some really hardcore left-hand path folks there. But they knew who I was, and I was welcome there. I was there for a long time, even after this. And there was an argument on being saved and about Christ, when he was on the cross, saving the other villain that was hanging next to him. And the one guy was real smug and was like, well, if you're God, then, save yourself and us. And the other guy was like, man, you need to shut up. Have you no shame? This is an innocent man here that's going through this with us. We deserve it. We asked for it. He didn't. And then Christ said he'd see him in paradise that day. Now, that's a great debate too, in and of itself. And I'm not even going to open that kettle of fish right now in this moment. But that was kind of what the center of the debate taking place in the room was about. And then someone who was real hardcore left-hand path and thought he knew me, an early mentor, threw me under the bus. Threw me under the bus in front of everybody. Oh, this Christian over here. And I laughed, and I stood up. I wasn't going to slink away. And then the questions, well, so what? You could do this and this, and then, and then one of the really big guys was like, so, I could be the worst, abuser, blah, blah, blah. And if I, on my deathbed, say, save me, Jesus, I'm getting saved. And I said, yeah, that's exactly what it means. As long as you mean it. Same kind of silence fell. But my buddy, who at the time was very, very close to, he just kind of fell back because he saw the spotlight. I thought I was going to have a simpatico buddy, you know, and no, I was going to take that battle alone. And it sucks, you know, sometimes, but you know what? You should revel in that, because blessed are they who take persecution in his name for his name's sake. It's actually a good thing. What if you didn't show that counterpoint in that moment, that something similar was happening? Maybe those people would never hear the truth. Maybe the seed of truth would never be planted. I know, sometimes I'm wondering afterwards, well, I could have done this, I could have done that. Oh, well, I could have tried this. You know, not necessarily to sway someone to your viewpoint or defend your viewpoint, but just to get to the truth, heart of a matter. It's not always easy. We have to trust the process. Trust the process. The process is you. There's something else I wanted to say too. Why I said portals when I came back, because that's what I was thinking earlier. The portals thing. I know a lot of people laugh about that, but for me, and this is just for me, this is for entertainment purposes only, like I said, it's like the movie Stargate. When I first started meditating, there was no portal, because I more or less did an open call, which is extremely dangerous. But I was already in a particular spiritual place with the angelic hosts, to where I wasn't worried about the lower nature, the hell. And some of those first meditations, when you have them, you know, those lower natures reach out first, because that's just where we're at in this plane of existence. We're rooted in it. And it was really kind of interesting. And then you go further, and then a little bit further. And I'd love to go into each and every meditative trance experience, astral projection in depth, but it would take a long time. Trying to put that stuff into words is almost impossible, and it doesn't make sense to the other person, because each path is individual. Each path, every road. Every man and every woman is a star. Love's law. Love under will. And then once you get to like the point of knowing the vehicle that's in here from the shell, interesting things, very interesting things start to happen. So once I did the early meditation stuff, and then got into the gateway experience, and again I'll come back to that one, because that's the one that will really just, and you could take it as far as you want. I went up to 25 now, and I'm sorry, 20, is it 27? It might be 27. You lose track. But these techniques, they become integrated. So once you get the mind, body, spirit, and you integrate, and you have the triangle, the circle in the triangle, now we break the circle and make it the spiral, and spiral out. And create. And the circle is how these portals appear. So whenever you do the astral travel, and you go now, and in this particular system, once you get past like 10 is entry level, that's where you're first getting into that headspace of where if your nose itched, it feels like it's a mile away because you're so integrated into the experience at that point. And then you have to stay there and you have to stay cognizant. You can't fall asleep. That's the bitch. It really is. The wall behind the wall of sleep, like the Black Sabbath song. You get to that point, and most of us surrender to sleep because you're just so relaxed. It is so relaxing, and it is such a great space to be in. But if you remain cognizant, and now these are guided meditations too. So you go to 12. And 12 is where, okay, we're a little more influenced now by the sound of my voice. And I'm going to take you to 15 now. And then you go to 15. And, it takes a couple minutes to get to 15. And then now we're going to move on to 21. And, because it was called the Gateway Experience, I'd already been using that as a visualization technique kind of in and of itself, subconsciously. I was going through gateways. And when you get to the point of 15 to 21, you're at this spot that is at the point of the outermost reaches of the universe feeling. And then you're also on the spot where time does not exist. And now we're going to move forward. And now you go a little bit further and you get up to around, I think it's 20. And at 20, that's the point where I can see the angelic city at. And that's where you go to sleep, in that space. I know we're far out there, but we're going to go a little further. And, you're safe there to the point of zero worry. And then we're going to fracture. This place feels really good, and we're going to leave half of ourself here because we're aware of this other place that's over here that goes behind us. And it's interesting. And 22, 22, 22, 21, 22, that's where the portals become visual. And usually I see about 50 of them, or just what I could see in my little frame of vision that I'm kind of experiencing this vision in. And it's pretty wild. And then on the way there, when you do the 23, which I love, it's wave. I have to look it up. I'm going to try, I'll repost it again just in case anybody gets a little bit more curious because of what we're talking about today. But when you get to those portals, you're now integrated. So you have your holy guardian angel, your mind, body, and your real spirit are all in line, and everything is working and firing as it should. You're following the recipe. You're keeping yourself as clean as possible. You're trying to do and be the best version of this thing we call the I, self, the I am. And when you go through those portals, you've integrated this light so much that you're moving in the light, and you move at the speed of light. But you go even faster than that, really. I call it the speed of thought. You think it, and then you're just there. It almost feels like cheating. Like this can't even be real because of that. That's how I confront it sometimes. The synchronicities will pile up on top of each other. Numbers are very much communicative devices. The same way they say that, ghosts of relatives, they'll leave pennies and dimes in the room. You'll just find them all of a sudden and be like, oh, it's them making contact. Like leaving your cell phone at home. I like that one. It's been making the rounds on the internet lately. And you go back and get it. Stick around for a couple minutes. You're obviously in a hurry, and now there's a reason why you're back at the house. Why am I back at the house? Did you forget something else? Or are your guardian angels keeping you from that monster car crash that's happening right where you would have been had you not had to turn around for a second in that time construct? It's so nice today. I have such a peaceful feeling today. I think I'm going to meditate in the sun for a little bit. I was asked about a couple books by a friend on there. I really, as far as the esoteric stuff, I didn't mean to come down and say or give the appearance that I don't have an appreciation and a natural draw towards anything of the magical realm, because I do. And I checked a lot of that stuff out. Plenties. But I also go the other way with all of the different religious stuff, Here's a good one that maybe you don't know about this book, and I can't remember what it was called, but it was one of the archaeologists that was over there that was helping to decipher and put together the Dead Sea Scrolls that they found. They were trying to figure out and attribute, to who put these here. And then they were like, okay, well, this is actually an Essene spot. That's what John the Baptist, they believe was, and I believe was. And the Essenes were like the first doctors. They were smart, and they were very, very pure, very holy. They bathed all day long. They found cisterns and different baths and stuff that were supposed to be theirs, where it was just part of their ritual of life for them. They had to stay as clean as possible in the eyes of their creator. And this was a part of the ritual of becoming that way. And they were the ones that would come and take care of you if you were sick. Sometimes they were like doctors, and they knew certain things, like, okay, you're all getting sick because you got these animals in the house with you and they're shitting all over the floor and you're just traipsing through it like it's nothing, and right into the kitchen it goes and you're eating it with your food. And that's why you have sickness in your house. So get the animals out of the house. And you see that window you're throwing all of the human excrement out of? You got to stop doing that because the kids are playing right there. And that's why all the kids are sick. So you got to go behind your house about 1,000 paces or 500 feet or whatever and dig a hole and pour your business in that, because it's toxic and it's making you sick. And in real extreme cases of whatever, they would, and actually, from what I've read in other sources too, in nearly every case, they would pray over you. Again, these are very devout healers. And then they get what's called a double blessing, because they're taking care of this person, and now because of that person's faith and what they're doing with them and them being taken care of, this person is blessed as well. It's a double blessing. That's why in church, when someone gets baptized and everybody starts screaming hallelujah and everything in the background, it's a multi-blessing occurrence. And see, then that power is really strong. Where 2 or 3 gather in his name, he is in the midst. It's like charging an egregore until it glows. Flourishes. Sunday, and the sun's out. I'll take it. Books. Anyway, so Morals and Dogma. I read that back in 2001 or 2. I got it in a estate sale, and then I ended up ordering it for a friend. Then I got the Books of Urantia. And if you don't know what they are, look them up. Earth wasn't always called Earth. It was also called Mu, and there have been other names. But there was this book called the Blue Bible that they claimed fell out of the sky, and it's really hard to find. And the library can locate it for you if you go in and want to actually do your due diligence. Check it out. It's the size of a phone book, and it's on real thin paper. So get your magnifying glass out, or your specs. Get your readers. I got my ugly readers right here. I had them out a little bit ago. The Book of Urantia, the concordance, and the dictionary that's after it is really good too. And then at an estate find, I found Manly P. Hall's The Secret Teachings for All Ages. And after that is the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary. And then a really cool one, and you know, my brother and I was talking to someone, they were hitting me with the Freemason thing again the other night. And I was like, no, I'm not a Freemason, sorry. Our endeavors are very much the same, and I consider them brothers, but I'm involved in something a little bit different. And I was with my brother, and he wanted this baseball card set that I had, because my brothers and I are all into cards. And I said, all right, you know, you give me $250 and it's yours. But he wanted to spend the $250 at this auction, but he thought. And then when we got there wasn't anything he wanted. But there was something I wanted. We went out back, and Bill was helping out that day. And I said, Bill, look. And he looked up, and there was a slat in the roof. I said, I bet there's some cool shit up there that hasn't been seen in about 100 years. And he goes, oh, hold on a minute. He got a ladder, because Bill's like me, he's a go-getter, man. He climbed up in there, ferreted his way back. I could hear shit getting moved around all over the place. Kiko Auctions, love you. And he goes, Eddie, come here. And I went over, and he started handing me boxes down. So I got to see this stuff right with him as soon as it was getting found. And the Woodford family, I think was their name, out of New York. These were relatives of theirs. And they were having an absolute estate auction that day. And they found a Civil War sword. I passed on that room. They were selling off the closet space and the contents, and they went for like $8 each, and I passed. And then when we were leaving, the one kid started jumping up and down, and in the middle of some old blinds, there was this amazing, exquisite Civil War sword that had some kind of, the engravings were exquisite. That's the only way I can put it, exquisite. And the design, whew, love to know what ever happened with that. But there was a ladies' hat box that had ladies' hats in the original boxes from 1899. I knew that because the receipt was on it, on the box, the outer box. So someone was in haberdashery, or whatever the terminology is for ladies' hats. And I always thought they were sexy. I like that pulp noir stuff. And they had the little lace things that cover the eyes, you know, and like they sit on the head cockeyed. Like there was some really cool ones in there that had maybe never seen a human head, because these were old stock, and they hadn't been touched. They were covered in dust. The boxes were within that box. So they'd been there for a minute. And the box under it had a razor, an old-time razor, a handful of poker chips, and what everybody at the auction thought was a class ring, because this was a late entry. They'd already done the interior. We'd gone out to the exterior buildings. There were two of them, and it was in the attic of this exterior building that this was found. So it was in the moment. So they said, all right, everybody take a look. And everybody took a look, and I was listening to the conversations, and I was like, man, and that Bible has a compass and square on it. I know what that is. I know what that means, kind of. And I was like, I want that too. So I told Eric, I said, look, I get that box and that Bible, you can have them cards. Drive it up to $250 if you have to. And he goes, what? What's in there? And I was like, trust me, it's something I want. And I wanted that ring. It was a 32nd degree ring. And it had the double eagle on it, the Phoenix. And this is very old. This one was from the 1800s. Everything in that box was, I'll give it providence, because I saw everything around it and in it. And I got it. And my life changed really drastically, like Frodo, you know, when I got that ring and started wearing it, because I was wearing rings, you know, years ago. And a lot of strange things came into alignment at that time for me. But yeah, I don't know whatever happened to that ring. I mean, I kind of do, but it had some kind of stone set in it too. It was beautiful. Everybody bid on it though, and it went up to like $230. And I ended up getting it that day. So I got a Lodge Bible, and I was amazed at how much different stuff was in it. But I knew it didn't belong to me, the same as the ring. That's why the ring got passed into another Freemason, is what I'm thinking. And the Bible went to the highest bidder at auction. I put it up on an online auction, and I was already fielding offers from other lodges and stuff, and they were historians that wanted it, and I ended up giving it to a lodge in the area, and that was the end of that. But that Lodge Bible was really cool to look through. But the straying real far away, the Dead Sea Scrolls that were placed in this cave by who they think were the Essenes had some really interesting things in there. And two of them that I read that I really was really cool to me personally was the Psalms, a lot of them laid right on top of each other, according to this one linguist, word for word. The whole book of Job, the whole book of Daniel, and I believe the whole book of Ezekiel, verbatim, according to this one fella. And I'm sure there's other people that agree on some of those. I am not a linguist, so I'm not in any place to put a stamp of professional approval on it, but I'll take an expert's testimony. And then there was also some of the Jubilees that were in there. The one that stood out, though, was the every 7 years, debts were forgiven, all debts. That way usury couldn't step in. And if you don't know what usury is, look that word up, because it's not supposed to exist. Not to the level that it does. It puts people into servitude. This is well known. I know, you girls are going to go crazy now. Everybody's been laying here being so quiet, and now it's getting chaos out there. So everybody have a good Sunday. It's not really Sunday grunge day. Got my dad's shirt on today. I always thought it was Grandpa's, but hey, baby. Have a good one, everybody. Love and light.